Dan, welcome to the Awesome Dad Show. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Taking the time to speak for me for a few minutes.
Absolutely. I've been seeing you around here at the Dad Too, and I think you've got a great story to tell. So why don't you tell the audience a little bit about you and what you're doing?
Sure. So I'm a parent of 4 kids, including triplets, which happened naturally. I didn't have a small part in doing that, but it made me feel pretty active. So I started a social network around sharing my experience with my first daughter of being a new dad and learning with those types of challenges, things that you go through. And then when my triplets were born, I kind of created content dedicated to them just because I was more impressed with the attention that they got and how happy they made people around them. So it was just one of those things where I'm like, you know what, I'm going to dedicate a page to them and start a social network, and then it just kind of took off. So
love that. And what's the name of your page?
It's called The Baby Gang, or Official Baby Gang on Instagram, or you can just Google The Baby Gang, you'll find me.
Love that. Yeah. Love that. So I got to ask, when you found out you're having triplets, what went through your mind?
Well, I've always been a humorous type of person, and my family will tell you that I cry wolf for certain things quite a bit. So when I told my family, at first, I didn't believe my wife when she told me, and I felt like a total idiot because she went to the ultrasound by herself, and this is a great story because she was there by herself figuring out that she was having triplets, and the technician was just like, felt like she won some type of award printing off paper this big and seeing the pictures. She brought it to my work right after the appointment, pointed out A, B, and C, and I'm thinking picture A, picture B, picture C. And then she's like 1, 2, and 3, and the head was here, head was there, and I'm like, okay, picture 1, 2, 3. No, you idiot, we're having triplets, is what she said. So it took me a while for me to believe, and then I was still in shock. I didn't know what to do. I think I was shaking on the car ride home. I told my family, nobody believed me. And I think it was more to like when they actually saw the triplets, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, he wasn't lying.
I can't imagine what would go through my head if that were to occur.
Sure.
So, look, we're all dads, we're all parents, and there's a lot of challenges that go along with that. What do you think is the hardest part about being a father of, 4, or having triplets? Like, what makes it just so much more challenging?
It's just something you can't prepare for, and it's just something you just kind of have to figure out as you go. And people always have advice for you, and you always have to kind of have an open mind because what might work for them may not work for you. If you kind of rely on that advice, that might break the expectation. It was just like, you know what, you might be disappointed because it didn't work out. There's just so many things that I can probably think of where it's just may not work, or things that you just cannot prepare for. And I think the best probably advice that I would give is that you just kind of have to dive in. You have to, if you didn't have patience before kids, whether it's 1 or 10, you will definitely have patience after you have a child. But just bringing your best attitude is probably some of the best advice that I can give. Whether, when you're going in a situation where you're, multiple kids are screaming and crying and they're waking up in the night and you're walking in and, typically I'll just say, okay, who do I think is the most fussy? And I'll pick them up, rock them. And then, having them be a little more independent where they have to wait for you, it kind of builds that character for your child where it's like, okay, I'm going to be a little more independent now, so.
Do they all wake each other up at night too?
It was always just like 2 that would wake each other up. One
Gotcha.
there was only 2. The odd case where it was all 3, but they're getting older now. They sleep pretty much through the night, but most times I wake up and I'm like looking to my right, everybody just came into the bed with me. So I've been co-sleeping for quite some time, and I know some people may or may not, maybe with it or maybe against it, but I think it's just something you got to do what works for you, and you got to focus on getting the rest that you need. And sometimes you got to go to those extreme measures where you got to let 1 or 2 or all your kids come into your bed with you and just kind of close your eyes for a bit. So
yeah, definitely no judgment here. There's no one right way to parent.
It's a fact. So true.
No one right way. I hate that term, parenting expert. So Dan, where can everyone find you? Where do you want people to go to find out more about your story?
Focusing on growing my YouTube, so you can find me on youtube.com/thebabygang, Instagram @officialbabygang, and facebook.com/thebabygang, Twitter, thebabygang, and then try to get TikTok. I want to grow my TikTok this year, so Official Baby Gang is where you can find me there too.
Love it. One last question before I let you go.
Of course.
If you had a billboard that could reach millions and millions and millions of fathers, what are you going to put on that billboard, Dan?
Oh, man. Maybe there was a picture that I posted where my kids drew on my face while I was taking a nap with a bunch of crayons, and it looked like I had some pretty cool Joker makeup on, and it was a meme that I created where it says like, "Are you ready?" And so I think something like that might put things in perspective. And I mean, typically you'll never be ready, but it is something that will make a big adjustment on your life and something you have to truly embrace if you want to be a successful parent.
Love that. Thank you, Dan.
Yeah. Appreciate it. Thank you for having me. Shout out to you, man.